Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. It gives me great pleasure to welcome P.M.H. Atwater, Ph.D., who's one of the original researchers in the field of near-death studies. She began her work in 1978 and was one of the people that pioneered the research in this area. She's written over 10 books and has recently finished a book that is the culmination of her 33 years in this field, called Near-Death Experiences, The Rest of the Story, What They Teach Us About Living, Dying, and Our True Purpose. And we're going to be talking with her in a few weeks, exclusively focusing on this new book. But today we're going to talk about the beginnings of near-death experience research. She's won many awards, the Outstanding Service Award from the International Association of Near-Death Studies, the Lifetime Achievement Award, and the National Association of Transpersonal Hypnotherapists. She is a well-sought-after speaker, and it's a great pleasure and honor to have her today. Ladies and gentlemen, P.M.H. Atwater, welcome to It's Rainmaking.
Well, I'm glad to be aboard. I hope everybody isn't too shocked by my voice. It will get better as I talk along. Yes, I have a little bit of laryngitis from a cold, but if you don't mind a deep baritone, we can do this. Near-death experiences, the rest of the story, truly is a summary of 33 years of work plus an additional 10 years I spent before I died studying and experimenting with altered states of consciousness, mystical states, and psychic phenomenon. Near-death experiences, the rest of the story, covers 43 years of work and involving nearly 7,000 people. We're talking adults and children. So I'm just one of these thorough types that when I look back at it, I have to kind of laugh and say, I never did anything small.
It's a landmark book, and it's the culmination or the synthesis of everything.
Well, yeah. So we'll save that for 2 weeks from now.
Indeed.
Because I know people are going to be very shocked, surprised, and really kind of flipped around when they read that one. Because there's a lot of material in there that I dared never say before. And I decided, okay, now that I'm retiring, by golly, I'm going to let her rip.
It is interesting how it takes either getting out of one's formal profession or a release of having to want or desire credibility or to be discredited to finally come forward with certain things.
Well, I did it all.
You certainly have.
All of that applied.
You certainly have. For those of you who know about P.M.H. Atwater, you have a frame of reference. But for those of you who don't know about her, I think we should begin with the context and the history of near-death studies. Paint the picture of how it was many, many years ago.
Well, near-death, the term near-death experiences began in 1975. That's when Raymond Moody's book came out, Life After Life. Now, that book would have never seen the light of day had it not been for Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It was the publisher that Raymond had taken the book to. They called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and they said, is this true? Can you validate this? Will you stand behind this? Because this is scary stuff. We don't want to bring it out. We don't want to take a chance on this book if we don't have somebody famous to back it up. And she backed it up. She backed it up with her reputation and her good name. That's how Raymond Moody first got published. If it hadn't been for Elizabeth, he'd have never made it. Then that book came out in 1975 worldwide, and it caused a sensation. Now, certainly the publishers knew that, and they were delighted that that indeed occurred. It talked about life after death. It talked about a hereafter. It talked about people who die and come back from death, who are resuscitated or revive. And they have this scenario or a particular experience that occurs to them that they talk about it. And it was just such it was just so new to the public, even though, certainly in esoteric circles and metaphysical circles, this kind of thing has been known for hundreds of years. Various types of historians and medical people knew this, known it for hundreds of years. If you go back in time, you can trace near-death research to the 1700s.
Really?
Absolutely. They didn't use that term, of course. It was Raymond Moody who coined the term near-death experience. But they talked about this type of people, and in fact, you can go back. There are some writings in Europe in the 1600s that talk about this and talk about research teams that went out interviewing people who had these kinds of experiences. So when I say this isn't new, I mean it. It's not new, but it's new to the general public. The general public didn't know about it. The mass consciousness didn't know about it. And it was Raymond Moody, the pioneer, who turned that around.
What's the name of the book he wrote?
Life After Life. And that's just gone through its anniversary issue. Excuse me, I think that came out a couple of years ago. It had its anniversary issue. It's still selling. It's still selling like hotcakes, millions of copies, and it's still worldwide. And a couple of years ago, China opened up its doors and allowed him in, just as long as he didn't talk about reincarnation. And just as long as he didn't use the word God, he was welcome. And he came in, and he really was well covered by the media. So we're all very proud of him for doing that. I know the woman in China that brought him in, and she's a gutsy lady. She was born there, the daughter of missionary parents. But she was raised there, but then came later back to the United States and had her life here. And then when she retired from her work here, she returned to China, and not too far from her father's church and where she had been raised. And she has done everything she can to educate the people, bring them aboard, teach them how to garden, teach them all kinds of things. Her name is Eunice Brock, and I'll tell you, that woman is a wonder woman. She's way up in her 80s, and what she does, I mean, it's fabulous. But anyway, she brought him to China, and we're all very proud of that. But one of the, there were several kind of weird things that happened.
Let's hear them.
Number one, the various medical types and scientists and researchers in Europe were scratching their heads. And they were saying, well, we go out and we talk to these kind of people, but we don't get that kind of model. We don't get that kind of pattern. And what we're getting is a little bit more of a downer. It's not that they all come back, charitable, spiritual, happier people, but rather we're finding that they're coming back really confused. And we think that you people over there in the United States are making this all up. So for years, there was a real schism between researchers in the United States and researchers in any other country, not just Europe. And they all thought that Raymond Moody was exaggerating the whole thing just to make a buck. So there was that schism. Schism number two, and that schism is still haunting the field and probably will for a long, long time. And that concerns tunnels. We can trace reports of tunnels back in time to the sensationalization by the media of Raymond Moody's book. Now, let me explain that. In 1982, Gallup poll did a scientific survey in the United States of people who had had near-death experiences. In that survey, 9% of the people said they encountered a tunnel. Only 9%. We didn't have the reports getting higher than that.